Hello and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. It is time for a very late garden tour. Y'all, I almost missed this tour for this month, but I've gotten a ton of work done and I want to invite you into my garden to see it all at one time. I'm usually showing you a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but today my goal is to show you everything in one go. And we're going to start over at the neighbors because that's usually the one I get tired and I don't show you. So let's go to the neighbors first. So we are over at the neighbors, and guess what, y'all? All 12 beds and 2 green stalks are all planted out. And I'm going to show you everything. And in some things, I'm just going to show you an empty bed and have to tell you what's in it. But I'm going to show you everything over here today. Some of you are new to my channel and you don't know, but I garden for my neighbors as well. My neighbors live just next door to me. The garden is just next to mine, and they're getting up in age and they love the garden that they just can't do it anymore. So I plant the garden for them. I start from seeds. I put the transplants in. I put all of the materials. I put the green stalks in. I put everything in for them to enjoy out the season. The only thing that they have to do is water and harvest vegetables. That seems like a good trade-off. For me, I get anything that's extra. So anyway, let's start back here at this bed and I will bring you in close and show you everything that's going on in this space. Before I bring you in close, I'm going to talk about what you see right here. In my garden, I use cattle panel trellis, which you will see back here in the background right here. And I have 3 set up over here along the back row of their garden. But that's kind of like a permanent fixture for us. Like if it's on a cattle panel trellis, that trellis is going to stay in place. I'm not going to keep putting it in and taking it out. So that's true for about 3 of these 12 beds. Everything else, I like to switch it up. I like to change things around. So I use a different type of staking method, and that's with these 8-foot poles and something called the Mighty Crop, this little spinner right here, which will pull in rose bushes and tomato plants and pepper plants and whatever you need to pull in, it's got places to pull it in. So anywhere where I have peppers or tomatoes or anything that needs trellising that's not along the back, this year, this is the only method I will be using. And so I have 8-foot stakes in about 10 areas, 10 different plants. It might be more than 10 plants, but I got 10 stakes in here. And each one has 3 of these Mighty Crop, I call them spinners. I don't know what they are, but I call them Mighty Crop. It'll fit any size stake and you can adjust it up and down. So I put 3 on each one. Hopefully that'll be enough to handle the tomatoes growing in this space. Now, let me bring you in close and show you each and every one of the beds. This bed back here was one of the first beds that I planted this year. In the very back, that's all Brussels sprouts. They're all red burgundy Brussels sprouts at that. I had one Long Island Brussels sprout that I don't think made it. I really don't think it made it. It wasn't in good condition when I put it in here. And then I have the Charleston Wakefield cabbage. In the next row, I have 3 kale plants growing in that next row. And in this back row here, I have kohlrabi, 2 different kinds, a white and a burgundy or red kohlrabi. And then I have onion, and they're red onion growing right here. We've had a very cool spring, so this bed is looking really, really good, especially since the weather has been very favorable, with the exception of the rain. The beds like the rain. I don't care too much for all of this rain. Rain is good for the plants, but I can't work in it if I don't get some kind of relief. But anyway, that bed is happy. Let me show you the next one. I'm growing 3 tomato plants, but I'm only using 2 stakes to manage 3 tomato plants. But that's 6 different Mighty Crops on there to help manage those tomato plants. Along the back, I have Napa cabbage growing. I had 5 celery plants. It looks like 1 didn't make it, so we're down to 4. So we're down to 4 from 54 from last year and the year before, which 4 plants will be more than enough celery growing in this space because they're just going to harvest 1 stalk at a time or a couple of stalks on the outside at a time, and the plants will continue to produce. That's how we did it last year. And so why did I need 50 plants? Who knows? But that's how many I had. And this year it looks like we only have 4. Also in this bed right here, you can't see anything right there, but I put some Georgia collard greens, and I'm sure they're Georgia collard greens in there. Just planted those, so I don't expect them to be up yet. And then on the very edge here, I have some onion that might make it. It seems to be the corner that the squirrels like to play in. This bed is fully planted out as well, and it's planted out with green beans and dragon tongue beans. And we use the square foot garden method on those. When they pop their little heads up, I'll make sure I show you a good clip of that area because you're going to see how neatly those rows are and how nicely they're spaced. And then in the back corner, I have some onion growing. Spinning around to the next bed here, I have some volunteer rosemary that's been coming up in this bed every year now for about 3 years. It seems to be the only rosemary I can grow. Every other seed I try to start now just doesn't work. So it's growing in this space right here. I may pull some up and transplant it over into my garden, which is just over there, when I get a minute to get to it. In addition to the rosemary growing in this bed right here, I am growing rape seeds. Yes, I put them in even though it's getting ready to be blistering hot this summer. I went ahead and planted the rape greens in there. I mean, since I have enough seeds to feed everybody in the state of Ohio, I might as well plant a few out and see what I get. This next bed here has 4 tomato plants growing in the back. And in the middle of the bed, we have 2 squash. And I'm giving these squash plants plenty of room to grow. And if I'm not mistaken, these are winter squash. So they are going to grow in the bed. They're going to grow out the bed. They're going to grow around to the back of the beds. And then it's going to run around that way when it's all said and done. But we wanted to give them plenty of space to grow. This bed has cucumber transplants in it, as well as summer squash. So 2 summer squash, again, giving plenty of room for them to grow, and cucumbers growing behind there. My neighbors love cucumbers, so I'm trying to make sure I give them plenty of cucumbers this season. And I am going to start some more transplants. So when those cucumber beetles or disease or whatever takes those cucumbers out, I'm going to have a new plant to replace it so that I can just keep that harvest coming all season long. Last year wasn't a good year for cucumbers, and we want this year to be a better one. In this bed right here, I have 4 tomato plants growing in the back across there, and again, 2 more squash. I'm sure you see the theme, lots and lots and lots of squash. But there's so many different kinds of squash. I have the crookneck summer squash, it's yellow. And then I have just regular straight neck summer yellow squash. And then I got yellow zucchini. And then I got green zucchini and Italian zucchini. And not to mention all of the different winter squashes. Oh, I'm not finished with the summer squash. And then I have the scallop squash. And then I have round squash. So I have so many different varieties of squash growing, and I'm giving them plenty of space this year to spread their legs and be happy. And if they're not happy, I'll pull them out and I'll put something else in that spot. And y'all, this is my last bed of squash, I promise, for my neighbor's garden. So 4 more tomato plants over here. All of the tomato plants over here this year in the beds, in all of the raised beds this year, they are all indeterminate tomato plants. They are going to grow and they are going to vine and they're going to get tall as long as they stay happy. And then, like I said, 2 more squash here in the front. Interesting enough, we turned our drip irrigation on and we sprung a leak right there this year. So all I did was cut it out, put a coupler in place, And now no more leak. And it was super easy to do. In this bed right here, y'all, I messed up. Guess what? There's squash over here too. I missed that somehow, but I have squash growing in a couple spots here. I don't know how, but y'all, that back there, that's a mustard green, and I don't know how it got in there, but it's there. And in the front here, that is a pepper plant, and again, I have no idea how it got there either, but this bed is mostly flowers, but I robbed just a little bit of the space. I have nothing in this bed here. My neighbor, Miss Pam, she loves flowers, and so she's growing a variety of different kind of flowers over here. And my neighbor, Mr. Jim, is growing some spring onion, and he's been growing that spring onion probably for 5 years or more in that spot. But I don't have anything of mine in that bed. In this bed right here, I have some real sorry looking onion plants that we just put in. I hope they perk up and fill out. If they don't, we'll put something else in there. In the very back, I planted okra, and I've never planted okra for them before. And we've put carrots in all of this space here. In this last raised bed, we have potatoes growing in this spot right here. My neighbor and I had a great time planting them together. Just behind the potatoes, you can't see it yet because I just planted them, but we're going to have okra growing right here. And then along the trellis, we have transplanted cucumbers, which will grow up the trellis right here. I hope I didn't go too fast for you, but that's all 12 raised beds. The only thing we have left over here at the neighbors are the GreenStalks. One thing that you're going to find interesting about my neighbor's garden is that all the way around the garden, the whole border is nothing but perennial flowers. There will be blooms on every one of these green plants throughout the season, so the beneficial insects come over here and they stay. It'll be great if they come on over to my spot over there as well. But with the perennial flowers around the border, they never have an issue with beneficial insects, especially those bees. One thing that you're going to notice different about my neighbor's garden this year is that all of the green stalks are shorter, and that's intentional. We were really struggling with the green stalks being 5 tiers or 7 tiers tall, so we took a few off. We got them down to a decent height, and my neighbor's talking about how much he enjoys this height so much better. So we only have 4 tiers on this one, and I think 5 on the one behind me, original versus leaf planters. In the original here, I am only growing tomatoes, peppers, and the one other thing I'm growing in here are eggplants. That's it. These are all large plants growing in this space. Let me show you. So in the bottom, I have eggplant. I also have peppers and tomatoes all in the bottom. Just a variety of things in that tier. Same thing as you go up. You're going to see eggplants and peppers and tomatoes. They are just random throughout this GreenStalk vertical planter. In the very top, I have the micro dwarf tomatoes in here. So these will stay very small. And that's the only kind of tomatoes that we have in the top. And then I think I have just one pepper plant in the top. Now again, the squirrels like to have parties over here, and what they like to do is dig behind the plant and leave all kinds of treasures behind. But once the plants get bushy, and I mean bushy like this right here, they leave it alone. So I know it won't be much longer before they leave this planter alone altogether. Boy, that's beautiful. The rain has kind of knocked it down, but that is a beautiful plant. Some roses back there. Last year we had a duck nest in there, and her little, what do you call them, geeseling, ducklings, whatever they are, they were in there. Now this GreenStalk is full of lettuce, and what else is in here? I have radishes in the top. I have lettuce in the next 3 tiers, And in the very bottom, we have dragon tongue beans growing in there. And those beans are really filling out. For the lettuce, they use the same method that I use, which is cut and come again. So you just pull the leaves off that you want, and they will start coming back, and you can cut off of them for a very long time. So there's heading lettuce right here. Leaf lettuce is in here. Some fancy flashy butter gem. Just a variety of stuff, as well as some romaine lettuce growing in there. The only thing that didn't make it in this GreenStalk was the spinach. I got one little piffle plant here and that's it. So I have room to plant 3 more things in this top tier, and I'm sure I'll find something to take his space. And where I planted seeds, so I did plant some lettuce from seeds. You can see that's where they've been digging. I don't think any of them made it. Nope, I don't see anything of those tiers, but I have plenty in other spaces so we can actually put transplants in. And to just be honest with you, I prefer transplants, with the exception of green beans and my collard greens. I prefer to put transplants into my GreenStalks. They're already bigger, they take root faster, and the critters don't mess with them most of the time. But this is my neighbor's garden, fully planted out, and you're going to get to see it grow nicely over the next several months, and we'll be harvesting from here really, really soon. Now we will head over to my patio because I don't have much over there, and we will save the main garden for last. I am just outside of my garden, my patio space, and I grow all of my own vegetables. Any vegetable that I need for the house is in my garden, it's in my freezer, it's in my pantry, it's somewhere, and it was produced somewhere on this property. The area that I'm struggling though is in my fruits. So I have placed fruit trees and bushes and vines throughout my property to try to improve that overall supply of fruit for my family, but I'm not there yet. In this space right here, I planted 3 years ago, I believe it is now, some raspberry bushes as well as some blackberry bushes. The blackberries are thriving. This bush is full of blackberries, as well as this little bitty one to the side of me here. They're all thornless because I didn't even know that was a thing until I was an adult and started growing my own food. I thought all blackberries grew in the wild and they all had thorns on them. They don't. These are all thornless. I don't remember the varieties, but when it's time to harvest, that's if a harvest ever makes it inside and I catch it on film, I'll make sure that I share with you the different varieties that I'm growing. But I have 3 blackberry vines, bushes growing right here. And the raspberry, there's no sign of where it even was, which is okay because they're so invasive. It probably would have taken over this space anyway because that probably wasn't the best place for it. But the blackberries are doing amazing. Yes, everything over here is super wet for a couple different reasons. Because it's been raining all day. Again, today and yesterday and a little bit the night before that. And it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow and the next day. So we're getting lots and lots of rain. But all of these plants were up under this bed behind me here and they didn't get watered naturally. So I pulled them all out and I gave them a nice drink of water just a few minutes ago, as well as all of my GreenStalks. I still water all of my GreenStalks unless, you know, we're in the middle of a flood. My GreenStalks are still going to need a little more care and attention. Like if the rain's coming down and it's hitting this side of the GreenStalk might be happy, but that other side may not be. So I took care of all my GreenStalks today as well. And you can see there's still quite a few transplants out here that I need to find a home for. And behind me, behind this bed here, y'all, I got so many tomatoes still that I need to find homes for. But all of the transplants are happy except for those tomatoes, which we will get taken care of here really soon. But let me bring you in. Let me show you this GreenStalk and this elevated raised bed. So this is my mixed GreenStalk. It has collards in it. It has two different kinds, maybe three different kinds of collards in it. There are turnip greens in here as well, and y'all, they are all mixed up together. Not intentionally, but that's where we are today. I've harvested from this GreenStalk, what, two times? Two times so far this year, and it's time to harvest it again. So we're moving on to my Vego garden elevated raised bed. I removed my insect netting just so we can get in there and really see what's going on. And then of course, you know, I didn't put it back because I was too lazy, but there's the insect netting down there. And here's this amazing bed of food. I have 4 Merlot lettuce plants growing back there. Now I just put those in, I don't know, maybe 3 days ago, 4 days ago, and they're looking pretty good. It might be 5 days now. In this square right here, I just planted some carrots. I didn't put that back where it belongs. Right next to it, y'all, I still have some amazing looking, actually they're turning yellow. I need to get some fertilizer on here. But this is some amazing looking spinach. This is the best spinach I have ever grown. But you see the leaves are yellowing. You see the little yellow on there? You see some nice dark green leaves, and then you see some yellow leaves. So we definitely need to get some fertilizer in this bed. Next to the spinach are some more turnip greens. I've harvested off of them 2 times, and I might get, if I'm lucky, a couple more harvests off of these turnip greens. Now these greens do not have turnips to eat. They're called 7-top turnip greens. In one of my last videos, I asked, I wonder how I got the name 7-top turnip greens, because there's more than 7 stems coming off the top of it. And someone said they wondered if it was the way the leaves were made. So let's take a look. Here's a nice big leaf. And you can see where the leaf, where the stem has leaves coming off the sides. So 2, 4, 6, 7, that would be 8. That's not the answer. Maybe that counts as 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, y'all. I don't know what gives it the name 7-top. I don't know if that's the answer or not. But anyway, those are turnip greens, and they're in 2 squares. Right next to it, y'all, look at that. Ooh wee, y'all, that cabbage is looking good. Of course, it's not ready to harvest. We still got a ways to go. But this, I believe, is a early Jersey cabbage, and behind it is a green acre. I think it's called a green acre cabbage. I have some onion growing in the next 2 squares here. They're still very small. And in these back 2 squares, this one and the one beside it, I have cauliflower growing, and they are not heading up yet. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like the color. You can start seeing the leaves are getting kind of yellow. And I haven't been fertilizing, y'all. It's just been so wet, but we're going to have to fertilize all of our beds, or this discoloration is going to continue to get worse. So we are going to keep moving across the patio and working our way around. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on flowers, but I have flowers in a couple of containers here. I have a couple little containers over there. They're not looking happy. We won't spend no time on those. But over here, I have 2 tomato plants growing. I think it's an Italian heirloom and a black creme. Yep, that's what's growing in there. In this Vego garden tomato, what is it called? Rolling tomato planter or something like that. I have potatoes growing in this plastic container here. I'm going to do some backfilling now that I have just a little bit of soil that I can spare. In this little, I think this is like a 2 or 3 gallon pot, and I do mean it's small, y'all. Look at that. You see those flowers? Flowers means potatoes. That means there are potatoes down there. Now they might be small, but there are tomatoes in there. We'll move on up here to my hanging basket with some petunias in it. And then the last GreenStalk in the patio area is right here. And it's one of the first ones that I set up. In the bottom, I have cilantro. Above the cilantro is parsley. And then the next 3 tiers are all lettuce. Look at that beautiful lettuce. And we have harvested quite a bit of that lettuce. And I started some from seeds up here. And I definitely have more in there than I need for that pocket. So we can take those transplants over to the neighbors. You can see the cilantro is doing well now that I replanted it. And right here on this plant, we harvested this plant like a week ago. And y'all, it'll be time to harvest it again in just a couple of days. I'm gonna spin it on around here. We just harvested these yesterday for our hamburgers and salads. And then look, here's another pocket full of beautiful plants that we will transplant somewhere else. I'm gonna have to start gifting some lettuce or we're gonna be in trouble because this lettuce needs to be picked now. In the very top, I'm growing basil. It took so long to warm up. These basil seeds haven't been in here very long. I'm growing 2 different kinds of basil and I don't remember what they are right now, but I'll make sure I share that with you when we get to the point where we're harvesting and it gets a nice sized plant. So that's the patio space. We're gonna hit these 2 fruit trees right behind me and then y'all, we're gonna head over to the garden. Well, this year I was very fortunate and all of my fruit trees except the last 2 that I just put in last fall, they all bloomed. They had some of the most beautiful flowers on them. They bloomed kind of early. And of course, we had cold weather and a lot of them did not get pollinated. But there are a few peaches growing on 3 of my 5 trees. 2 were just planted last fall. So hopefully we will still get a decent peach harvest. We probably got a couple dozen peaches last year. It could have been a lot more than that because I had the peaches, but somebody took them. But this year, I'm hoping that we get to enjoy the peaches versus the stranger who decided to take them from us. Let me bring you in close. Now, this tree did have some, I guess, fungal diseases on it. But by the time I realized what it was, I had missed the window because from my understanding, you're supposed to spray them for the fungus and the fungal diseases before it's this late in the season. So I missed the window. It looks like it's healing itself this year. All of those funny looking leaves have fallen off and I got healthy leaves coming on. If you don't treat this over time, it will eventually take your tree out and you'll start seeing that weird look that's on the leaves showing up on your peaches based on everything that I've read. So next year, or even at the end of this season, I really need to look into that a little more and make sure that I'm treating these trees because I'm just now starting to enjoy peaches. I don't want to lose them before I even get a chance to really enjoy them. So let me bring you in and show you a few of the peaches. So this is that disease, I was taking that fungal disease that they're having, which is very common from my understanding with fruit trees, especially peaches. But I do have some healthy peaches on this tree. And they're not so close together that I need to thin them out. Because if you have too many peaches on a tree, they're too close together, they'll be really small. Now this tree behind it, it didn't fare as well as the other one. It had even more of that fungal disease on it, but there are just a few peaches as well. Since we're talking fruit, I might as well talk the apple trees. I have 3 reachable apple trees in this space here. They're as tall as they're really going to get, but my goal is to keep them small, and it's going to be more like 1 big apple tree versus 3 because I'm going to have them growing together. And just to the left of me here are more blackberries. These blackberries did amazing last year, and it looks like they're going to do amazing again this year. The blooms are coming in. And I saved this just so I could show you this right here. You see all of these pieces right here that look brown and dead? Those had blackberries on them last year. So they're not going to get blackberries on them this year. I can cut those away. And then there's this stem right here came in last year, so it'll have blackberries on it this year. So that's kind of the process when it comes to blackberries. I cut all of the old ones away off of this one. Well, most of them. I still see some that are missing, but I did not do such a good job on this one right here. So I am moving around the exterior of my garden, and right in the front corner as we're coming around the outside of my garden is a GreenStalk full of yellow wax beans. There are 5 different varieties of yellow wax beans growing in here, and actually they still look really, really good. There were a few pockets that didn't germinate very well. I believe it was the Cherokee wax beans that didn't germinate very well, but I replaced them with 2 more varieties of yellow wax beans. One of the things for my beans and my family, my mom says, I don't know what anything tastes like because you're always mixing it all together. Well, this year my goal is to give her nothing but yellow wax beans, canned jars with nothing but yellow wax beans, so she can at least get the taste of a yellow wax bean versus a green bean. I can't guarantee I'm going to separate all the green beans, but at least I will separate the yellow from the green. I'm hoping you can see this here, but those 3 apple trees, they're already starting to kind of join in the middle here to look like one big tree. So maybe one more season and I'll have it looking the way I want it to. Along the front here, this is my herb bed mostly. In this corner down here, for whatever reason, my oregano is right there. I must have dropped some oregano seeds in there because y'all, that shouldn't be there. Because it's right next to this sage, and this sage is going to take it over. Look at the beautiful flowers on the sage. This sage came back from last year. I planted it last year. Beautiful purple flowers on it. And then I got my chives right next to it, and the chives have beautiful purple flowers on them as well. Behind these herbs, I was trying to grow some peas, some snap peas, the green kind that you can stir fry that I don't like for my daughters. And it looks like I only got a handful of them that even germinated. So we might get some and we might not, but either way is fine by me because I don't eat them. But that's a wasted trellis if I don't get something on that trellis. Next to the chives, I have my thyme, and this is coming back from last year as well. I was really worried that that wasn't going to come back, but they're looking pretty good. And I had a spare cabbage plant that I stuck in here on the end because I thought the thyme wasn't going to come back, but that looks like some type of Jersey, probably early Jersey. I'm looking at the way it's curling there. Cabbage growing in that space. I put a couple flowers in here because I had a couple extra. Right next to it, y'all, these are my potatoes. And that's a lot of potatoes. This whole bed has nothing but potatoes in it. And they are starting to bloom. And I've already told you, if they're blooming, y'all, there's potatoes going on down below. Look at that. Now, I've heard a couple different things about take the blooms off, leave the blooms on. I don't know if it matters one way or the other. Sometimes I take them off, and sometimes I don't. The most important thing with your potatoes is that you want to keep them watered nicely. Nice, even water will keep them all healthy so you can get a nice harvest of potatoes. Next to this bed of potatoes is going crazy, and y'all, I do have support in here. You probably can't even see it now. I did a video of how I put a support system in to kind of help those stems stand up straight and make sure that there's good airflow and that they're just staying healthy. And so that is looking pretty good as well. But next to it is where I was going, is a box of potatoes. Now, I don't have any supports on them, but y'all, they look good. They are looking really, really good. And I believe we're going to get to a point here very soon, because I think blooms are trying to come in on that box of potatoes. And then I have my broccoli. I've harvested once and I'm too late, looks like, because that head has opened all the way up. But we're going to still harvest it and enjoy it in the next day if I can get back out here and I'm not reined in. But we've already harvested and enjoyed a lot of broccoli. I got my side shoots coming in now, and we will harvest side shoots for the rest of the year off of this broccoli. And next to the broccoli is cabbage and cauliflower, many different types, growing just beside the broccoli. I got a couple heads of lettuce growing next to that. I have some onion, and again, that is more cauliflower that no heads yet, so I don't really have anything to show you. By the next garden tour, I'll definitely have something to show. And I got me a little sign that says, "Welcome to the garden." So I'm starting to pick up a little bit of garden art and decor because Mom's going to kill me if I expand the garden anymore. So I got to find something else to keep my garden fresh. So we're going with garden decor to help improve the garden, at least for the rest of this year. I'm not making any promises for future years, but for this year, I can make that promise. And here Mom talks about me. You see what she done did? She done bought a couple flats of flowers. You see? You see? I get in trouble for expanding the garden and she keeps buying flowers. But anyway, I do have a few raspberries in pots right here. I might get a few raspberries off of this bush. I don't think that one's going to make it, but it was in a clay pot that broke and fell all to pieces and we had to try to replant it. So it might not make it this year. These are collard greens right here in this space right here. They've been growing since before Christmas. They were in my indoor grow space and we moved them outside. I have cabbage growing all along that area there. And it's supposed to be early cabbage. So these might be some of the first cabbages that I harvest outside of Napa cabbage. And then I have onion and 3 little bitty heads of lettuce and some more of that flashy buttered gem. And you'll see that this lettuce looks a little eaten up. And that was because of ants. I had a few of you ask me, like, what is my solution for ants? Y'all, I don't have one. I don't have a really good solution. I just buy the stuff in the store. I don't have the right answer. I don't have the organic answer for ants. But that's what I did. And I placed them in a couple places around the garden to try to control the ants. And it's like 3 different types of ants out here. We cut down some trees last year and they're probably trying to find new homes because they probably were in the trees, but they can't stay in my garden. They got to go. Now, if they weren't eating my plants, I would live with them. But no, they eat my plants. They got to go. I have turnip greens growing right here. In the front, there's a couple carrots, and I had to re-sow a couple of these in this space here. Once these turnip greens come out, we will put something to climb up on this cattle panel trellis behind it. And there's a cattle panel trellis in this space here, and we will be growing melons on it. But it's still just a little early for melons. It's just too cool. I'm going to keep going across the back here. I have more potatoes growing back here, and of course, they're flowering as well. I have broccoli in front of that and onion in front of the broccoli. Y'all, all of my beds are completely planted out, all of them. In this bed back here, I have corn and dry shelling peas in the back. In the front, I planted some onion And I planted some more Brussels sprouts across the front here. There's corn in that one as well. Now, I just planted it. I can't wait to see if it comes up. We'll see how it does. On this trellis back here, when it warms up, I'm going to put some winter squash, and we're going to grow it up that trellis and around and behind and whatever we got to do to take care of some winter squash growing in this space here. Rhubarb growing here. Beside the rhubarb are more potatoes. Now, these potatoes are on a drip system if I ever need to turn it on, where these 5 containers over here are not. Now, I planted them a little later, but I'll just have to hand water this space when it's time. On the back side of this bed here, I have onions, and all onions growing along the whole back side. They're hard to see, but they're there. Same thing with this bed here. I have onions growing along the back side. But the main crops for this bed, as well as this one right here, are the tomatoes. And I have the trellising set up for all of those tomato plants. And just in front of the tomatoes, I'm growing more shelling peas in both beds, in this bed as well as this one beside it here. I have onions growing across the front of this bed as well. Onions don't need a lot of space, so I got them growing 2 or 3 deep in about a 6-inch wide space right next to the tomatoes that are growing in this space as well. Behind the tomatoes, I have mustard greens, and y'all, this is the best I've ever had of mustard greens. I struggle with mustard greens. I have 2 different varieties, and they're doing really, really well. I have onion on the outside of this bed on both sides, and in the middle of the onions, I have some more cabbage and cauliflower growing in this space here. But y'all, this bed is looking good. Again, the rain has been good for the garden, just not good for me. This is my GreenStalk full of dwarf tomatoes, and I am growing dwarf tomatoes only in GreenStalks this year. So I showed you a GreenStalk over at the neighbors that has tomatoes in it. Those are all dwarf tomatoes as well, and these are all dwarf tomatoes or bush style tomatoes. And y'all, these plants are happy. They're very happy. And they got little tomatoes growing on them. Very, very happy. This GreenStalk is full of hot peppers. And then at the very top, I have some onion growing. And I'm saying hot, but y'all, mildly spiced. And I do mean mildly spiced peppers growing in here. And I happened to be out here yesterday, y'all, and look, that's my first cayenne pepper for the year. Cayenne is already coming in, and there are lots of blooms up there as well. Now, I still need to get some trellising on here because they are missing quite a bit of trellising, and I need to start supporting them. My order should be in very soon. Again, tomatoes growing across the back side of this 10-foot long bed. In front of the tomatoes, though, instead of shelling peas, I have 4 squash plants growing. Now, remember I said I did have squash growing in my garden too. So a ton of it over at the neighbors, but I have quite a bit over here as well. For the families that I'm growing for, most of them like yellow summer squash, but they don't care too much for zucchini. I told them to taste the Italian Romanesca or something like that, or the Italian ribbed, to give it another try because they said it was too smushy. And I find that kind to be just a little firmer. So I'm growing some for them this year, and I told them, give it a try, let me know. But I planted tons of yellow summer squash because I know that's what they really want. Now, I haven't showed you many flowers in the garden because I don't plant a lot of flowers in the garden, but I have a few marigolds growing along the front of this bed here. They were in intensive care. I got them out of the ICU. They went to intensive care, and now they're just in a regular hospital room we're going to get some fertilizer on them, some liquid fertilizer, and I think that'll finish perking them on up. In addition to the marigolds, in this bed here, which you can't see anything yet, there are beans and flowers that I direct sowed in this bed here just a few days ago, and some volunteer tomato plants. Moving on over to another GreenStalk. This is my overwintered pepper GreenStalk. And y'all, it's doing good. It's doing really, really good. I've already harvested peppers off of it since we've been outside. I did transplant some new peppers in, as well as continue to support the overwintered peppers that are in here. Now, some of the overwintered peppers did amazing, and some of them struggled. Like this one right here, I believe this is a 3-year-old overwintered pepper right here. So I had to put a new battery in. So hopefully you saw everything up to this GreenStalk. When I bring my GreenStalk outside, I cut all of my plants all the way back as if I'm overwintering them again. And when I do that, they will put some new buds and new leaves on them, and they will start growing nicely again. And again, I said I transplanted a few things in empty pots, and a few things are just now starting to get happy again from where I cut them back. There's something red back there. Look at that, something that wants to be harvested. This plant here is, I'm 100% sure that this plant here has been indoors for 2 winters and has been outside now. This is going on its 3rd season outside. You can see just how thick the stem is on this. That's how I know it's one of my older plants. Where this one is still kind of young and the stem is kind of thin, but you see I cut it back and new leaves are forming. I think y'all have seen enough of my sweet pepper GreenStalk. Let me move on over. I have bush green beans growing all along the front of this metal raised bed. There are 3 different varieties here, if I remember correctly, and they are kind of yellowing a little bit for me too. So yes, we will fertilize in the next couple of days. On the back side, I have pole beans growing, and it looks like only about 6 of them made it because of the ants, but they're starting to come back and they're getting healthy again. So they will start climbing very soon, like this one right here. I have one that's starting to climb already from down below. And then I have rattlesnake green beans growing back here, which is just a different style of pole bean, and they're not climbing yet either. In this bed, I have all cool season crops. It's all different types of cabbage in the front. And then I'm supposed to only have broccoli back here, but for whatever reason, y'all, that's not broccoli. That looks like kohlrabi. And there's another one back here, another kohlrabi. But outside of the 2 kohlrabi, those are all broccoli. Growing in front of my little she shed window here, I have cucumbers that I started from seeds, and they've come up and they're doing great. In front of that, I have pansies growing of all different colors. And then in the very front are onion. And what else is over here? I think that's 1 eggplant, might be 2 eggplants over there on the end. Y'all, I can't miss this space right here. Y'all, this is my grape station. At least 3 different varieties growing this year. This will be the 3rd year on the main grape plant, and there are grapes all over it. Hopefully they get a little bigger this year. And y'all, they had seeds in them. They were supposed to be seedless, but that's okay. We're going to enjoy them. And if the girls won't eat them, I will use them to make jelly this year versus letting them stay on the vine and just getting too ripe. But in front of all of these grapes, Y'all, I have strawberries. Strawberries have been growing in this bed for 3 solid years. I've added no strawberries whatsoever to these 3 fire rings. They just keep reproducing in this space. They'll put on runners. The runners will take root and it'll give me another plant. And so they just keep replenishing themselves in this space here. They came in first. The strawberries look best on them because they're more established than anywhere else. But y'all, I have strawberries. Strawberries right here and grapes right behind it. And y'all, I don't do a lot for my strawberries and my grapes. I did give them a nice fertilizing at the beginning of the season, and that will probably be the only time I fertilize them this year. I don't know. I might give them a nice drink of liquid fertilizer along the way, but not every time that I fertilize the garden. I just don't pay a lot of attention to my fruit like I do the rest of the garden. But let's wrap on around the corner and finish this tour. Y'all, in this space right here, I used to have 2 massive hostas growing. They were massive. So we took them up and we transplanted them to the front yard. I mean, we moved them to the front yard. And y'all, it was work. But they are in the front yard now and they're getting happy. And so, of course, I used that space to plant some more vegetables. So I have 4 tomato plants in the back. And Mom was mad because it was supposed to be for flowers. So I planted some marigolds right in the front. These are some of the same marigolds that were in the hospital that we now have still in the hospital, but they're at least not in intensive care anymore. But this area is fairly new as far as us getting it cleaned up and looking nicely. I got a little more garden art over there. Look at my little bicycle. And I got some petunias. That's not petunias. What is this? Pansies. I got pansies in there. I know they're not going to last. The bad thing about that little bicycle, y'all, there are no holes in that little flower pot. So if it rains hard, it's going to drown those flowers. Y'all, when I say I cleaned up this area, it was full of, I think people told me they were called Virginia creepers or something like that, which we thought was some type of poisonous plant because it caused us rashes. But we got all of that cleaned out. It's all gone now. So we can use this space for other things. And yes, we have the flower pot sitting in there, but apparently that wasn't good enough for my mother. And so she bought some of those flowers and she's going to put them over here among other places. This hosta plant right here, we left. You know, I started that from seeds about 2 or 3 years ago. We were really excited that I was able to do that from seed, but it was getting choked out by those vining plants. But now that we got all those vines out, hopefully it'll get happy really soon. This green stalk right here is one of the green stalks that I'm going to grow a variety of things in. I'm always showing you a green stalk full of just one thing. So I'm trying to show you that you don't have to grow like that. So there are many different things in here. I have tomatoes in here. I have cucumbers. I have squash in here. I have cabbage that's starting to head up. I have tomatoes that need to be harvested. And these tomato plants, y'all, I started back in, when did I start these? I started them indoors, so November, December timing. And then I brought them out when I brought this tier out. What else is over here? I have kale growing, more peppers. And like I said, there's some squash down there. More tomato plants. Now this tomato plant, it's not new. It was huge. I brought it from indoors. I cut the longer stems off of it. Well, I broke the longer stems off, but it's coming back and it's happy and it's putting some little blooms on. I believe these are orange hat. I also have eggplant in here. So this will be a green stalk with a variety of things growing in it. I have a couple pockets that look empty, but they're really not empty. I am growing, what am I growing in there? Collard greens, I believe is what I put in those empty pockets. And this is the biggest transformation, at least since the last time that I did a garden tour. I got this last 11-inch metal raised bed in. It has 3 squash plants growing in it. And beside it, I have 2 containers of okra, and behind it, on this cute trellising, y'all see this cute, isn't it cute? I saw it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to get this. I will put the links in. I'm not an affiliate or anything. They were just so cute. So I wanted to get them. I thought they were all metal, but they're not. They're half plastic, half metal, but they look amazing. And I am growing cucumbers in these cute little trellises just behind the squash. So I put 1 cucumber plant on each vine. I know it's probably way too many, but that's what I did anyway. And I've set up this space right here. And I think it's going to be really, really nice when it starts coming in. So these are transplants in these 2. And this one here, I started from seed, but they are cucumbers as well. This is my 14th GreenStalk that I'm waiting to set up right here. Hopefully the parts and pieces I need will be here very soon, and we will put that one together with you. The galvanized tub back here is a 28-gallon galvanized tub. It has strawberries growing in it from 2 years ago, but we're going to add some melons to this space as well. We've started rounding over into my little fruit orchard area, and over here I have blueberries. We just put this in this year, and they're looking pretty good. It's actually, I think this plant has almost doubled in size, so it's very happy where it is. This is a peach tree that I just put in last fall, and y'all, it's not happy. It woke up and it looks like it wants to go back to sleep because it's not happy. But there are green leaves on it. I know it's alive. Now, I can't say the same thing about his friend over here. This one don't look too happy. So I've contacted the company that I bought it from. I'm asking their opinion and their advice. They do have a 1-year guarantee. And yeah, I'm pretty guaranteed that it's dead. But anyway, we will see if this one gets replaced this year. But y'all, the apple trees are looking good that I just put in last year in the fall. That one there's looking pretty good. Now, y'all, they're small because they're really, I should say, skinny. They're skimpy because I just put them in the ground. They need time to bulk up, but they got all their leaves on it and they're happy. Not only did this one put leaves on, y'all, but it decided to put an apple on too. And this thing hadn't even been in the ground a year. Because the limbs are so, or the branches are so thin, I'm giving them just a little bit of support while it gets happy so that they can grow in the direction I need them to grow in. Another blueberry plant, because I gotta have 2, because everything has to be even, because this one didn't make it. Again, this is another one of the plants that I put in last year. I thought it was waking up, but it never did. I think it just died, y'all. I think it's just dead. But I've already contacted the company. We'll see if we can get it replaced. This fruit tree, this is a peach from several years ago. It's got some little bitty fruit on it, but it's also got something eating them. This is where the chipmunks and the squirrels like to hang out, but most of this fruit, I don't think that it was happy, if that makes sense. Most of the blooms fell off without fruit, and then I had fruit and they were so small and now they're all on the ground. And I don't know if they all had help or if they just were very unhappy. Now this tree has that same issue as the other ones, so next year we'll make sure we treat this tree properly. And then I have 3 strawberry GreenStalks, 3 48 pocket strawberry GreenStalks. And they're happy. We are eating strawberries off of them. Not enough to take inside at this point, but we are enjoying strawberries already off of these plants. And they are starting to put runners on. And one of the things that I talked about was that I have some empty pockets, and I know I have empty pockets, but I take the runners, like this runner you see right here, I take these runners and I dip them into another pocket. like that one right there, and it's going to take root and give me a new plant. We're going to do the same thing with these runners up here. We're going to dump them into a pocket. I don't want to do it right now because I want to get my hands dirty, but we'll dump them into a pocket. They'll take root and we'll be good to go. So just because you see some empty pockets, don't worry. As the season go on, these pockets will fill right on up. I got quite a few runners coming around this way already that I've already tried to. So there's the runner. Let's see if I can get over here. It's coming around, and I dumped it in a pocket there for it to take root. And that's the process of how I'm going to keep my strawberry supply coming. And y'all, this is the last bed that we're going to talk about today. And y'all, this is my melon bed. I'm going to have watermelon and cantaloupe and every kind of melon you can think of growing in here. I have planted nothing in this bed yet this year. Yeah, those are potato plants. I didn't plant them, they planted themselves. I had so many fingerling potatoes, and I reused a lot of the soil from those fingerling potatoes in this space here. And y'all, it's just as happy as it can be, all 3 or 4 of these plants. And I saw blooms on one of them. Here it is. This one's blooming. So that means that there are potatoes down below, which means I will probably have potatoes down below in this bed forever, because I had so many, and I do mean so many fingerling potatoes. So I didn't grow any on purpose this year, but I'm sure we're going to get some fingerling potatoes. But this bed is intended for melons because we are in the fruit orchard. We should be growing fruit in this space right here, not potatoes. I got my trellising all set up to take some of them up and over to make the area really nice and pretty. And I got all of the weed fabric down so we can trellis the plants out the side of the bed and all over this space here. But it's just too early and it's been too cool. But we will eventually get to it. But y'all, that wraps up the garden tour. It was a lot longer than usual, but I wanted to make sure that you saw everything, because we've been having to work between rains, in the rain, in standing water, on rafts while we've been swimming around to just get the garden in this year. And I wanted to show you everything, and it's coming along very well. I'm going to be honest with you, I am more excited about this year's garden than I have been in a long time, because it's not only producing the food for me for the year, for my neighbors for the year, family, friends for the year, but y'all, it's pretty too. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications, giving me a thumbs up, telling your friends, telling your family, sharing the video, all of those kind of things. I will keep this video coming just for you. And come along this year and watch as I'm harvesting and succession planning and learning new things about the garden this year. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.